This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Okay, so I saw this clip from Adam Rank, and I saw a lot of Browns fans getting upset about it, having opinions. I think this clip got more bookmarks than quote tweets and likes. Tells you like what type of time Browns fans was on when they saw this clip. But it made me think of something a step deeper that I wanted to talk about and break down with this clip. So we're going to watch the clip. We're going to react to it and everything. But I want to tell you before I get into the clip why I want to react to this clip. And the reason I want to react to this clip is not because he said something about the Browns is negative, and anything that's negative towards the Browns is a bad take. That's not where I'm coming from. What I want to talk about is what actually makes up a bad take and what makes up a good take. Because on the internet, I feel like we fall into this path of saying that things that I agree with are good takes and things that I disagree with are bad takes. This is not how things work. People say stuff I agree with all the time in the large picture, but the way that they get to that picture is incredibly stupid. And that's a bad take, right? If how you get to what I feel like is the right answer is the wrong math, that's not the right answer. It's the same reason you had to show your work in school when you did the math problem, right? Because just because you got to the right answer does not mean that your process was correct. And it's more about the process that you're trying to learn than the answer to an individual question. The same way that, hey, if somebody said something I disagree with, but they got there in a pretty reasonable manner, I would say it's a good take. It's one that I don't agree with, but it's not a bad take. So the first thing I want to get out of people's heads is get this whole idea of, oh, I agree with this take, it's good. I disagree with this take, it's bad. And try to like think about what is said and think about if what is said has merit based on what is said. Not who's saying it, but the reason, the explanation behind it. Because what I find, especially when it comes to like national media stuff, is since they have to cover 32 teams, sometimes the coverage on some teams can be a little lazy, right? It is what it is. My focus is the Browns. So my coverage on the Browns will not be lazy because you wouldn't want to watch it if I was doing lazy coverage on the Browns. So I obviously put a lot of effort into the Browns, into the AFC North, because that's what a lot of my audience wants to listen to. If you have a national audience, well, your attention is going to go to where the national audience wants to go. And that might not necessarily be the Cleveland Browns. So you end up having to talk about them for a segment, and it comes off very lazy because, well, you just don't know that much about them because it is kind of lazy. So without further ado, let's play this video and let's react to it. And I'll tell you why exactly I feel like this is a very lazy take, and explain exactly why I think that.
Time now to take a look at the Cleveland Browns last season. Very disappointing for them. What is in store for 2023? Well, they're going to open up with a loss against the Cincinnati Bengals before getting a win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, a loss to the Tennessee Titans, but a win over the Baltimore Ravens to level up at 2-2.
All right. Before we go any further, any Browns fan in the chat can look at this prediction and tell me exactly what's wrong with it. If you're a Browns fan, if you paid attention to Browns history, this right here, this 4-game start already told you everything you need to know about this take, which is this man does not know what he's talking about. And it's not because, oh, our team's so great, we're going to go 4-0. It's not because our team is invincible, we can't go 2-2 in the first 4 weeks. I've seen a lot of people say that. It's how you got there, right? The math might not be wrong, but how you got there was ridiculous. You know why it's ridiculous? Because you have the Browns losing to the Bengals at home and beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Are you drunk? Are you drunk? Every Browns fan knows that the most likely scenario is that we win that Cincinnati game week 1, we lose that week 2 game versus Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh just because weird shit happens in Cleveland in Pittsburgh. We beat the Titans, we lose to the Ravens. The math was wrong. And the math continues to be wrong the longer this prediction goes on. And I also want you to notice the lack of something else, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to let you figure that one out for yourself. And then at the end, when he goes through his predictions, you'll see what I mean. But already off the bat, come on, dog. We going to lose to the Bengals at home, which we haven't done since 2017, but we going to beat the Steelers at home, which we haven't done at Pittsburgh, which we haven't done in the regular season. Since the 80s? Or was it Tim Couch? Did Tim Couch do it? I don't know. It's been that long. Adam Rank already exposed. He knows nothing of the Browns with this take right here. Again, what makes a bad take? It isn't because you said something I disagree with. It's because you said something that was not fundamentally sound. And this is not sound. Nobody who knows Browns history would predict this. This is crazy. This is crazy. The Browns are not going 6-11 and beating the Steelers at home. That's crazy. It would have been less crazy if he said 5-12 and we lost that game versus Steelers. Because, all right, maybe somebody got hurt. You know what I mean? But let's let Adam continue on to this conversation. It gets ridiculous at the end. I'm not even going to hold.
Heading into the bye week, but then a very tough game against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to go with a loss there. I'm going to go with a loss to the Colts as well, and a loss once again to the Seattle Seahawks. But he's
not explaining any of these losses with football reasons. He's just going over to a board in like vibes, bro. Like, yeah, loss here, loss there, loss here. Why would we lose to San Francisco? It's not a crazy take. The Browns could lose to San Francisco, but why? Explain your reasoning on that. What did San Francisco do that exploits the Cleveland Browns? There are things that San Francisco does that exploits the Cleveland Browns, but did Adam Rank attempt to explain it at all, even in one sentence? No. Had no explanation for this Colts take right here. Like, that's when I'd be interested in, because, like, the Colts? Like, I don't know why you would think the Colts would beat the Browns if we're just looking at week 1 on paper rosters. Hey, I would love an explanation on that. We didn't get a single explanation. Oh, the Seahawks at Seattle. Did he even do it's an East Coast team going to the West Coast? I've seen people on Twitter give more detailed, that's not even close. I've definitely seen people on Twitter give more detailed analysis than it. But I've seen people on Twitter in one tweet do a schedule prediction and have more defenses for their takes than Adam Rank has in this entire video. And that's why I'm calling it lazy. You wouldn't even know it's a 2-game road trip, right? Like you wouldn't even know that because he didn't talk about it. I'm out here talking about it. And that's why this is a transformative video covered under fair use if the NFL Network tries to copyright claim me, because I am transforming the contents of this video with my commentary that is very different than said source video. Just leaving that in there in case I have to defend this thing.
Some wins over the Arizona Cardinals, not the Ravens though. But a win over the Steelers, a season sweep. I know it's very unusual, but a season sweep over the Steelers.
See, dog, he don't know what he talking about. He don't know what he talking about. The Browns could go 14-2, and I could full on believe that the 2 losses would be against Pittsburgh. See, he don't know what he talking about. I would love to sweep Pittsburgh. I would love to beat Pittsburgh twice a year. But like, that ain't been what it is. Even when we're better than Pittsburgh, we don't be beating Pittsburgh all that reliably, except for in 2020. In the playoffs, in front of 45 million people, according to Nielsen records, went up 28-0 in the first half. Well, no, first quarter. Shout out to Steelers fans watching in the chat. Shout out to y'all. But again, why were the Browns sweeping the Steelers, by the way, Adam? Did you explain why you think that? Did you explain this? Even the wins, I don't agree with what you're putting out here.
I know it's very unusual, but a season sweep over the Steelers.
Nope, no explanation. Oh, yeah, I know this is unusual. I know this has never happened in the last 25 years, but the Browns are going to do it despite being very terrible in the rest of my predictions because, well, vibes. That's really what Adam Rank is employed by the NFL Network to give takes off vibes. It's a very fortunate lifestyle.
a loss.
Why are we
to the
losing to
Denver
Russ?
Broncos.
Is it because it's a road
Over the
trip? You
Rams.
didn't say nothing. But we beating the Rams though. So it's not the road trip. But it's not the road trip. So it's just vibes. It's just vibes. We're beating the Rams. We're losing to Russ in the Broncos. And this is where it goes crazy town, dog. This is where it goes crazy town. Because he realized he was doing these predictions. He realized his team was at 5-7. And boy, oh boy, the Browns can't go over 6 wins because I had them predicted here. So I just got to predict a bunch of losses.
I know that Jacksonville is going to be a tough team this year. I'm going to go loss here. Loss to the Chicago Bears.
Why are we losing to the Bears? Explain that one, right? Explain both of those L's. Again, I have no problem with you predicting the Browns are going to go 6-11 or whatever you about to end up predicting. But if you're going to predict a team is going to have a bad record or a good record, you have to defend it in your take. You can't just say shit. You got to say, hey, I think the Browns are going to struggle versus Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence is going to have an MVP type season. I think the Browns defensive line is going to continue to struggle. And I think this is going to be a game where the Jaguars are going to be able to exploit some of the weaknesses in the Browns defensive line because Trevor Lawrence is going to be playing that level of football. If you want to go with the Bears, okay, Justin Fields is going to really be able to exploit the Browns linebacker room with his speed. You could have a take that if you said it, I'd be like, all right, at least you thought about it. But you clearly didn't think about this. You just had the Bears winning here because vibes.
As Justin Fields makes his way back to Ohio, and you got the Houston Texans. I got a couple of losses right here before.
Okay, explain that Texas loss. Come on now. Like, again, explain that because nobody has that. Nobody's predicted that right now. Not saying the Texans can't win that game. It's the NFL. Any team can win any game. But you got to explain your thinking. What about the Texans? Do you think the Texans are good? Do you think the Texans are going to have a bounce up year? Or you think they're going to be better? You think CJ Stroud's going to establish himself in year one? Like, do you think what makes him so low on the Browns is another question because that's not the norm. Some people are iffy on them, but the consensus about the Browns is really good roster, but it's the Browns, so you never know. So explain what's going wrong. Why is this roster losing so many games in your take? Just do the bare minimum. It's really the bare minimum. And that's what I get frustrated with. The only thing he got right was his last win versus the Bengals.
Closing it out with a win over the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the struggle continues. There is still a lot of uncertainty with the Cleveland Browns, and I think they're going to struggle, and I think it's just 6 wins.
So his explanation, and let me play that again just in case you didn't see it. Let me play his mind-blowing explanation for these picks right here.
Closing it out with a win over the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the struggle continues. There is still a lot of uncertainty with the Cleveland Browns, and I think they're going to struggle, and I think it's just 6 wins in Cleveland this season.
So there's a lot of uncertainty with the Cleveland Browns. I think they're going to struggle, so I think it's 6 wins. That's the whole explanation for why the Browns are going 6-11. Again, you could predict the Browns are going to go 6-11. I have no problem with that. I'm not about to sit here and get all mad because you don't think the Browns are as good as I do. I don't care what you think the Browns are going to do. I feel fully confident in my belief. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Like, you know what I mean? I don't really care either way. What I do care about is lazy sports talk. What I do care about is when people just say stuff for no good reason without backing it up, and they get a platform to just say stuff without backing it up, and people just take it legitimately. And this was just lazy. This is my thing. You say the Browns going to go 6-10. Hell, if I said the Bengals are going to go 6-10, I would have a whole video laid out with explanations and everything, with football reasons on why I think that. I can't do that because I don't believe the Bengals are going to go 6-11. If you cannot explain and back up your take with the same intensity that you have it, then you don't actually believe what you're saying. He does not believe this. He's just saying this. Now, I'm not sure if he's one of those guys who've been like nonstop complaining about Deshaun Watson's contract on Twitter. I don't know if he's one of those dudes. He's probably one of those dudes. This probably has something to do with the dislike of Deshaun Watson. And Lord knows if it does, somebody's going to bring it up in the comments. It's going to get 1 million votes in the comment section. So it's probably that, right? But let's be for real here. Like, no explanation. What, does he think Deshaun Watson is going to have a step back? Did he say that? He didn't mention Deshaun Watson. He didn't mention Myles Garrett. He didn't mention a single impact player on a single football team that he talked about in this video. Now, I know the segment's only 1 minute, but you can fit a lot in 1 minute. There are entire TikToks that started careers that were only 1 minute. He just chose to say nothing whenever he had the opportunity to say something because he had nothing to back this take up. Nothing. This looks like a random pick on the board because he wasn't prepared, and now it went viral. Is what it is. I don't know if Adam Rank's a clown or not or whatever, and I'm not about to go that far with it. Like, I just think that maybe something else got caught up in his prediction. Maybe he legitimately believes this, but he has not shown the work to me to make me believe that he actually believes this. This looks like something he wants to believe. And when you want to believe something, you can't explain it, right? When you know something's true, you can explain it. Talk all the shit about me that you want to if you think I'm too optimistic. But when I say the Browns are going to win 10 to 12 games, I have gobbles, videos, hours of content to back up why I think that, exactly what I think each player is going to do, exactly what the matchup problems I am concerned about in certain games or the schedule issues that I find in certain games. I can defend my take. The question to Adam Rank is, can you? Because this doesn't even sound like you thought about it that much. And maybe if you haven't thought about your take that much, you shouldn't go on national TV with it. Because if I feel like I have to think about my takes a decent amount of time before I go to air with it, and I'm only on YouTube, then don't you think the responsibility of thought that you should put into something you say on national TV should be just a little bit higher than what the bar is on YouTube, a platform that people like him try to make fun of all the time? Something to think about. Something to think about. But that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below.